Illini basketball has had a roller coaster offseason, but ultimately it looks like it worked out. But what if it didn't? What if it didn't at all? Locked On Illini, let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for watching Locked On Illini, your first listen every single day. Just a simple reminder, we are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me on X/Twitter at IlliniCast or at the Sunny V. It's been a long day. We're talking about 8 hours of driving back and forth between Indianapolis. I got to attend my first ever Big Ten Media Day. And I wanted to, first and foremost, before I really started the show, thank you all for that opportunity. Again, I got to meet some of the Locked On folks there. And the reason I'm getting opportunities like that is the tremendous amount of momentum, positive momentum, might I add, that our channel has shown over the last 8.5 weeks that we've been live, essentially. And I say it every single time. I'm very fortunate. The conversations I have with some of you in the chats in almost every single day. And, again, I've had a very long day. I've commuted back and forth today. I've been in the car for about 8+ hours. And I got home, I showered, and I'm knocking out Wednesday's episode. Why? Because I promise you guys I'm going to deliver you daily episodes. And you guys show up daily for me. In particular, my everydayers, I really genuinely appreciate you because, again, I would not have had that experience at Big Ten Day without you guys. And so the least I can do is come back on and live up to my end of the bargain and deliver you guys daily content. So let's just go ahead and get started. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Okay, so we've been talking a lot of football the last couple of days, and again, that's just natural. Football is, I believe, 38 days away, and it's Big Ten Media Days season. So, the world is talking about football, but I know Illini fans, they're lukewarm towards, and what they want to discuss is basketball. And so I wanted to kind of think of a different angle. A lot of us, and hand up, including me, have been riding pretty high over the last couple of months and, talking about how high in the Big Ten we can finish, whether it's the signing of Will Riley or, Kasparis Yakushonis all of a sudden shooting up everybody's mock draft list. I wanted to kind of take a more humble approach. I wanted to take an approach where let's, imagine scenarios where we have to kind of temper our enthusiasm a little bit. And so I wanted to kind of talk out what the worst case scenario for next year's Illini team might be. And I'm not going to include injuries because I think that's just cheating. Okay, let's just say the worst case scenario is any of our main players, whether it's Will Riley, KJ, Boswell, Hummerkaus. I mean, you can name 7-8 guys. If any of them get hurt for the year, sure, that's one of the worst case scenarios, but that's a little too easy. So I'm not going to really take that part into account. Again, I think we were kind of spoiled last year, in particular with the season that we had, Elite 8 run. Brad Underwood finally got over the hump. We lost to a UConn team, but a UConn team that was dominant over pretty much everybody. And that includes, Purdue in the national championship. They're back-to-back champions. So losing to UConn isn't exactly something to be ashamed about. What we tend to forget is that simply the year before was actually a pretty disappointing season. We did get some highly regarded prospects coming into that season that we were all very excited for. Also, we had a pretty big name transfer that we were pretty excited for. No, I'm not talking about Tanner Shannon Jr. Although he was solid his first year with the Illini, he obviously didn't make the leap that he did last year. I'm talking about Matthew Meyer, who was the much heralded transfer that we got from Baylor. And I should correct myself. The narrative around Matthew Meyer actually, I think, has gotten overblown. Matthew was an all Big Ten player, and many nights he was our best player. But I do think that the Monster energy drinks and just some of the off the court stories with Matthew, I think Brad was looking more for some sort of leadership, and I just don't know if Matthew Meyer was built for that. You talk to Coleman, you talk to some of the players on the team now, they still keep in contact with Matthew Meyer. And so I don't mean any ill will towards him. I just think ultimately that move didn't work out. So what happens if the moves that were high on this year turns out to also not work out? Let's just go ahead and get started with Kylan Boswell, who I think is probably our most experienced newcomer. Kylan, obviously the former five-star from Champaign, went to Arizona, struggled a bit in his 2 seasons, and now he's come here, and we're all, for the most part, pretty excited. Though I don't know if it's based on his college basketball career or if it's more so based on the narrative of the hometown kid coming home. What if Kylan Boswell is just an average or maybe slightly above average college basketball player? Let's keep in mind the Arizona folks aren't really all that upset that Kylan left. Rumor is going around that Kylan enjoyed college life a little bit too much, but he also entered college life at a pretty young age. Now, we all assume that coming home, he's now going to kind of straighten up a little bit, realize that he needs to focus on basketball if he wants to make it to the next level. But what if, even without the off the court distractions, Kylan has already hit his ceiling? And he's just kind of an average point guard and not the above average point guard that we're all hoping for. These are the sort of scenarios that I'm going through. Will Riley, 5-star, highest recruit we've had in a very, very long time. One of the best scorers in the country. What if that's all he is? And what if the scoring doesn't translate right away? Will Riley's a pretty skinny guy. And whenever you have a 5-star come into the program with the intention of being a one and done, there's always a chance that what's best for him may not necessarily be best for the team. Now, having said that, I feel compelled to say that I don't think this is a scenario that's going to happen. I've heard nothing but good things about Will Riley, and I'm not in any sort of way saying he's a selfish player. The point of this episode is to give alternate realities. And with Will Riley, this just happens to be one. What about my guy, Kaspris? Kaspris has been one of the breakout stars over the past month and a half, which is funny because a month and a half, or maybe I guess at this point it's 2 months ago, I didn't even know who this kid was. I was scouting this Igor Danim kid. And obviously that one fell through. He ended up going to BYU. And Illinois had to, quote unquote, settle for this young kid named Kaspris Yakushonis. And now he's one of my favorite players I've had in a very long time. But that's not the point of this episode. What if the excitement level that we have needs to be tempered down and the transition to American basketball is a little bit more than we're giving it credit to be? What if there is an adjustment period for Kaspris? There's a chance that Kaspris and Kylan Boswell, their playing style is too similar. We have 2 point guards. In the previous episodes, I bragged about Kylan and Kaspris and the fact that we had essentially 2 point guards in our backcourt. But what if that actually stylistically doesn't work out? And Kaspris, at this point, his expectations are so high, and that's just not by me. I hope it's not just by me, but you see other content creators out there talking about how good Kaspris could be and whether he can be all Big Ten first team. I mean, don't you think that there's at least some sort of chance that we're all setting ourselves up for a little disappointment there? Ben Hummerkaus, let's be honest. Internally, we all hope Ben Hummerkaus is Marcus Damask 2.0. But I don't know if Marcus Damask 2.0 is ever going to happen. Ben seems like a very good player. And in an earlier episode, one of my first episodes of Locked On Illini, I predicted him to be the high scorer on our team next season. Do I still believe that? I'm leaning towards no. But what if he was a very good lower level player? What if he's merely a role player at the Big Ten level? We're going to be counting on Ben for that veteran leadership and that his scoring punch. Right now, we're all assuming that it's going to translate because we saw it translate last year with Marcus Damask. But that doesn't mean it's always going to work out that way. Trey White. Trey White seems to be, how do I word this? Like this, the coach's darling, the people in the know, the insiders all seem to like Trey White more than fans seem to. He's the guy that everyone who's close to the program thinks that the fans are sleeping on. But what if the fans are right? Trey White has had 2 decent seasons in college basketball, but his teams haven't performed well at all. In fact, they've been pretty poor teams. What if that's just the kind of basketball player Trey White is? Just an average player who doesn't really contribute anything to a good basketball team. Kerry Booth, 4-star, but he's super raw. Isn't there a chance out there that, especially now with our front court, with the amount of bodies that we have up there, that Kerry Booth gets limited minutes? Yes, he was a 4-star player, but it's not like he necessarily performed like one last year. He's got nice height. He's a little slender. What if Kerry takes another year or 2 before he really develops into the type of player he needs to? Morez Johnson, one of the most hyped players we've had in a very long time. But Amani Hansberry was pretty hyped too. And not that I had anything against Amani Hansberry, and I do think Amani would have had a better season if it wasn't for that back issue he had for the most part. What if Morris Johnson struggles his freshman year as well? Again, it's hard for a big in the Big Ten. This is the most physical league in the country. And while we would love Morris to come in and be one of the more dominant freshmen in not just Illini history, but in the Big Ten this upcoming season, do we have to temper those expectations? Trey Gibbs Lawhorn, the star of the latest Illini men's basketball social media post. He was really showing scoring levels from all 3 levels. And trust me, it's an episode I've banked on in the future, talking about how Dre could be the X factor for next year's basketball team, his scoring abilities. But what if he just kind of stays a tweener? He's not a natural point guard. He's not really big enough to be a 2. What if he's just a guy who's, in between? He's just a small shooting guard. And you know what kind of player doesn't really fit in Brad's system anymore? Small shooting guards. I know I didn't go through all the players, but I feel like I've kind of established the point enough. Illinois Twitter, Illinois fans, Illinois Nation, whether it's on Reddit or whichever one of the social medias, right now we're riding a high. As we should. It's the offseason. Why not? We just completed the 3rd most successful season in school history. But every now and then we should probably keep in mind that it's not easy. It's not easy at all. We can't just continue to have short memories. We need to keep ourselves level-headed and look at both the positives and also the negatives. Having said that, I'm the eternal optimist, and so I'm glad this segment is over. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, that's enough of that negativity. Let's bring some positivity back into the show. Do me a favor, if you're enjoying Locked On Illini, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. It costs you guys nothing, and it helps the show so much. Speaking of positive, you know who else is keeping it positive? It's Brett Bielema, and he's continuing to remain positive about his defensive coordinator, Aaron Henry. Joey Wagner of the Illini Inquirer, who I got to meet for the second time, actually, at Big Ten Media Day on Tuesday, wrote a wonderful article where he talked to Brett, and Brett once again reiterated that when he was a young and upcoming coordinator, it was only through experience that he got better and eventually obviously elevated to the role of a head coach. He did admit to having very long and deep conversations with Aaron Henry. And one thing we've learned about Brett is that he's not one of those guys who's going to be overly loyal for no reason. Brett has been a guy who's hired somebody, and then if he didn't think that they were getting the job done or maybe weren't capable of getting the job done, he'll let you go the next season, as happened with his first offensive coordinator here at Illinois. Now, Aaron Henry, obviously, there's a longer relationship there, Aaron having played for Brett at Wisconsin. But again, Brett made the call. He chose Aaron Henry over Kevin Kane. And though Henry did struggle last season, the entire defense did, Brett on Media Day was very quick to note that Illinois had lost 3 players in the top 70 picks from the season before. And we had Matthew Bailey get injured after merely a play in the game against Penn State. And Matthew was a guy that they were very much counting on for production and leadership in that defensive backfield. So I wouldn't say they're excuses necessarily, but what I do enjoy about Brett is that he's not necessarily letting Aaron Henry take the fall for it. He corrected multiple reporters, at least in my presence, saying, you know, the 2022 defense was led by me. The 2023 defense was led by me. He's taking responsibility as a head coach probably should. And so if at this point if he continues to feel confident in Aaron Henry, then who's to say that Aaron won't have the same type of career that Brett Bielema had and will continue to get better as he progresses through his coaching career. Now, keep in mind, Brett actually has a pretty long coaching tree himself. So if he continues to see it in Aaron Henry, then you know what? So do I. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team, every day. All right. In this segment, I just want to kind of recap some quick news and notes from the past couple days. And starting off with There was 2 injuries that Brett mentioned today at media days. Redshirt freshman linebacker Mason Muragan got an ACL injury, and he's going to be out the entire year. And also Kellen Francis, a sophomore, is going to miss the first couple months of the season. Brett also mentioned during his one-on-one with media members that former linebacker Daley Harding is going to be hired onto the staff, and it's going to be announced very shortly. Finally, I wanted to just kind of catch up on a couple comments you guys have been leaving on my previous videos. Just know I really do appreciate it, and I read every single one of them. Sometimes I don't get to respond to every single one, but I do acknowledge them, and I just wanted to kind of clear a couple things up real quick. Sean said, enjoying your videos from Teton Valley in Idaho. I see you've got Cole Kelly listed as both 2027 and 2028. Can I assume it's 2027? No, that's my bad. And I only realized it after when I was doing the post-production work, and it would have been too difficult for me to completely re-record the entire episode. Cole Kelly's at 2028. He's an 8th grader right now. He's going to be starting his freshman season next year. And so 2028 is actually what Cole is. Mikhail, I watched the TV special on these kids being the Boozer twins. Amazing story. They're not separating, but I see what Illinois is doing. Long-term strategy is sound. Exactly. I don't think that they're banking on Caden Boozer coming to Champaign next year, but all they're doing is leaving a just in case. They're going to go ahead and leave that door open. Mikhail also says, have fun. You do a great job on the show. No nonsense, just straight talk. Thank you so much, Mikhail. Again, I'm humbled. Keep in mind, I started my content creating journey in August of last year with the Illini cast. And a lot of you guys are, that's where you guys found me originally. And I still do shows there a couple times a month. And we're going to kick that up a little bit more once the season gets closer as well. So please, don't just follow me here on Locked On Illini. Find me at Illini Cast. Find it on YouTube. My co-host Austin Berkland, and we're all a part of the Armchair Illini Network. We have a lot of fun with that. We're going to continue to have fun with that. But speaking about having fun, it was a wonderful Tuesday. I got to experience my first Big Ten Media Day ever. And again, one more time, I wanted to thank you all for that opportunity, because without you, I would not have been able to experience it. On your way out, if you don't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I think we're at like 844 subs at the time when I first hit record on this episode. Let's try to hit 900. If we can somehow get to 1,000 before football season starts, I would be floored, and I would be so incredibly grateful. It can be done, and you know how I know it can be done? 2 days ago, I just checked the stats, and 74% of the people watching this are not subscribed. I know this may have shown up on your home feed on YouTube, the algorithm or whatnot, but just again, it doesn't cost you anything. Just hit that subscribe button. You have no idea how much it benefits a smaller, growing channel like mine. That's all I have for you today. Tune back tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be addressing the Sleepers video from last week. I know I've said this 2 episodes in a row. You just trust me. Eventually, I'm going to address it. I have some thoughts on the Sleepers video, where their Caden Boozer video, where they asked if Orlando Antigua and Brad Underwood were really ultimately just wasting our time going so aggressively against these top 2025 kids, when more than likely we all know the destination is not going to be Champaign. Until then, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for everything you guys have done for me. I love you guys.